Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Roll20 Presents The Burning Wheel. So, Agatha, I think that when we tune back in, Agatha, to reset the stage for you, I think you are mid lesson. Where are you? What is around? And what are you teaching? Also, can we review quickly what was the cost that you had to pay when you paid that persona point to keep your coven from disintegrating from what's her face dying?
Uh,
They all have a mark of like
we didn't
lawbreakeriness.
we
Yeah.
didn't specify exactly.
Okay,
So,
right, because it was like the three of you are.
Yeah, they're all bound
our,
and cursed together in this like
That's
law.
right. Yeah,
yeah,
chained together
something that
by
we share.
dark fate. Okay. Um.
So
Well,
that's cool.
yeah, that is cool. Yeah, lawbreaker I think is too specific, but like, yeah.
Like if the three of us are in the same place, we have like a aura of malevolence or something.
I think it's lower than that. It's like you could work up to that kind of thing. But yeah, some kind of like mark, metaphysical mark, not like you have like a brand on your face. Like you're all bound together, and they feel uneasy when you're around. There's that thing, right? Like being in the presence of three witches. There's a dark profundity that hangs in the air like a fog when people are around the three of you.
Yeah,
Um,
like I feel like it's neat to have it be when the three of us
yes.
roll together.
Mm-hmm.
When we walk in formation down the hallway at high school,
Yeah,
like in Mean
yeah.
Girls.
Yeah, yeah. When you're all within 30 feet of each other, you have access to higher level spells than you normally would.
Yeah.
Okay, so set me the scene. Right, what is your like the space you're doing this teaching in? And then I will talk a little bit about the burned girl and her jam.
Have those idiots learned astrology from me yet? I don't think they have.
No, 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 they have not.
So I think
Let
I'm
me let
teaching
me
them
look because like I
more.
think you gave them each like one test.
It's either one or two tests, and they've got a ways to go. So
Currently, Lilla, aka Sufferance, needs one, two, three. She needs like five more tests before she's finished out.
okay.
Um, and then the burned girl, aka Serica, aka whatever you're gonna name her.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
I have some naming options.
sure, okay.
The three that I'm eyeing are Tion, Hyola, or Kila.
How do you spell that last one?
Kila.
Keela, I like that.
Yeah.
I
It
haven't heard that
literally
one.
means to suffer.
Keela, wait, is it Keela and Leela?
Well,
Lila?
so we haven't. It hasn't happened on screen, but if you watch the character burning or whatever, Sister Sufferance's actual name is Lilla. But no,
Lila?
nobody here knows that. She's never
So
she's
yeah,
never said it out loud to anybody.
I just think
Killa
that's
and
interesting.
Lilla.
Hmm.
I'm all
And
for
if
it.
she paints her face, she could be the ghost face killer. But she
Indeed.
is very badly burned and probably like keeps herself like bandaged or like frocked in some way you can't see her face. She wears a veil certainly.
Frocked. I see.
Yeah, because she doesn't want people looking at her. She looks all horrific. So yeah. Okay, so set the scene. Where are you? You're teaching them astrology.
Yeah, so this could be like a night scene where we're outside again. Because we had that one previously where there was the like evil dark star in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that was it Serica that was like fixated on it? I think it
Yeah, it
was
could be.
fixated on it. Um, which was like the eye of the adversary or whatever.
That's right. Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, we're outside again, and this is like review for the umpteenth time.
Yeah.
Um, and I guess sounds every bit as tired of talking about this as any teacher does. Being like, yes, good, and which stars like reside over this particular thing in the north, and then
Oh,
like
and I think
working through it with the two of them.
I think Keela has her like her cloak and veil off because if it's the three of you and you're like up on an upper level like a balcony or something,
Yeah,
looking at the
little-
night sky and it's all cold and shit. The two of you, well, you less so because you have your magic blood, but Sufferance is like bundled up. Like I fucking hate it out here. Why are you making us look at the stars? This sucks. You can sense the cold, but don't. It doesn't really bother you. And Killa loves it. She's out here like she's. You can see her scarred face, and she's unafraid because you two have seen her like this before, and the cold wind is probably soothing to her. And so she's standing, staring up at the sky.
And yeah, so I feel like the lesson is kind of just wrapping up. And if I may, I would love to roll.
Oh, please,
instructor.
yeah, you have an instinct for teaching them.
These
So
nerds. And so instructor, I will fork astrology, and I think that's it. Yeah, instructor with one fork.
okay.
You
And
need to get,
the
like,
difficulty is
covered
what the
by it.
will of the person being instructed.
Yes.
I love that the more willful you are, the harder you are to teach. It's so good. All right, so it's relatively easy to teach these two.
Hmm.
Sufferance less so because she's had a little bit of background in the.
She's got a bit more of a spine.
Yeah, I think it's a 3 and 4. So you just make the one roll, and we'll see who the.
Yeah. I'll set the base odd at 3. Oh, I don't teach anyone anything. I'll spend a fate
Okay.
and try to get through to these kids. No, I can't.
Okay. So yeah, they're just distracted. Serica, Keela, Burn Girl, whatever. She is staring up at the stars but not hearing you, and Sufferance is like shivering and like angry. So
like distracted by the cold and yeah.
Yeah.
And just yeah, like Agatha can tell that she's like not getting through to them, like they're not responding anymore. Like maybe they were a bit more on it at the start of the lesson.
Mm-hmm.
And she just says, fine, you two just go inside.
And Sufferance does. She's just like, fine, fuck this, and she doesn't even say anything. She just grunts and goes inside. She goes to open the door and head inside, but Keela doesn't move. She's just standing with her hands on the stone of the balcony. I'd imagine this is like the upper layers. This building has been over the last 3 months like remodeled. People are visiting now, meaning you have to spend more time moving around at night and
Yeah.
back hallways and stuff for the time being. But the upper levels have been repaired, and you're able to access some of these places. So you're standing on a balcony that would have overlooked the front courtyard of this place, of this old church, where like choir performances or oratory would have been delivered. And yeah, she's just staring up at the stars, and she almost doesn't hear you. And you're like, you can go back inside. We're done.
And so Agatha's just like, well, stay if you want. And she like sits down and like unrolls her little mat thing. I have work to do, but watch if you like. And I start like,
Yeah, I start getting ready for a thing. So she turns and looks at you, and then looks away and speaks while she's looking away. She says, "Can you see what's to come in the stars?"
sometimes.
Did they tell you about all of this?
They speak in riddles, and I don't always have time to discern them. I have asked them a number of times about various things, but this winter, I was not ready for. I was preoccupied.
It seems to me that if the stars sang a song about the future, and I could hear it, I'd do nothing but listen. How could you ever know to act? How could you ever make a choice if you knew the way everything was going to turn out?
And therein lies the difficulty of it. best not to ask questions you can't handle the answers to.
Did they tell you what would happen to me?
And Agatha like smiles. No, they had quite lost sight of you.
I remember bits and pieces being chastised. Everything from before is so unclear. Like the fire's eaten it all. Did the stars tell you about that? About the burning? Did you know that was going to happen to me?
No. No, child, I did not. I spared you as much of it as I could. The alternative, I assure you, was much worse.
Can you interpret dreams?
Yes.
When I don't dream of the fire, there's a boy. I think I used to know him. I keep dreaming that I'm looking for him. I can hear the sounds of birds. Crows or ravens, I think. And I'm running through the halls of a castle somewhere, but it's all frozen over with ice. But I can't feel the cold. She like holds her like burned and scarred hands out like now. And she says, but I can never catch him. I think I hear a man's voice mocking me, but what does it mean?
There's something to be said for the fruitlessness of chasing dead things. That which lies in a realm beyond. No use looking for it. It's gone. In that same way that we must not always ask the stars for what to do, we must be mindful of not becoming overly attached to the dead or the past. We must look to here and now and act. Otherwise, you might end up like me, blind to the here and now, seeing only the past and future.
You only say that because you can't see what I've become.
And like Agatha like motions her, come here, child. Let me see then.
And she just turns away from you, like, no, fuck you.
You don't understand me, but also I won't let you understand.
Yeah. Well, I think like
Rebellion.
It's unclear, right, what happened. She doesn't remember anything about being Serica. But there's bits and pieces that are still like of her previous identity clinging to the inside of her brain. If only she had eyes to see them. But also the like, she doesn't remember why she was burned. She just remembers fire, horrible fire, and before that, nothing. She doesn't know it's your fault. But she's still like pissy with you because she's angry because lots of reasons. But so she turns away to stare back up at the stars. Why do you try to teach us these things?
Because without this knowledge, what good are you?
Everyone else in the choir has something to do. Some of them sing, or they mend, or they build, or they preach. But you have Sufferance and I out here, freezing, well, her at least, staring up at the night sky for what?
If you do not learn these things, then they are gone when I die.
Did the stars say you're going to die?
Everyone dies, child.
You know what I meant. Who
They
else
have
is
not
going to
told me
die?
I will die soon. Everyone will die if we do not end this curse. And that is what I seek to do.
I thought you said everyone dies. Are we supposed to stop them? Should everyone just live forever then?
Everyone should die at a time that is fitting and for reasons that are in keeping with the world as it works, not this changed state.
She Yeah, I mean, you're trying to convince her, like, you're trying to convince her of the worth of this, right? Because she's just like, what's the point? Like, if everybody's gonna die, like, who cares if they die to a horrible winter or whatever? I feel like there's a role here to kind of like get her on side.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it feels like you're trying to persuade her.
Yeah, and then this is absolutely my second belief, right, about the traditions surviving. And
Yeah, let's see if you can get her to buy in, because that'll make future interactions with her easier.
I need to open a wise that's like fucking apprentice wise or
Student
something.
wise, yeah, young
Yeah.
woman wise.
Uh, yeah. Okay. I mean, Agata's line of argument is pretty simple.
Yeah, I mean, you're trying to persuade her that it's a worthwhile endeavor.
That like, yo, it's not supposed to be winter. Everyone's dying. I'm gonna die at some point. You need to know these things so that when I do die, they aren't gone,
Yeah.
and that like maybe things can be solved. Okay, well, I will roll persuade, and I will fork ugly truth
Yep.
and apocalypse
Of
wise.
course. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So that gets me 3 dice now because my ugly truth is at B7. Because I'm amazing. Uh, so what is the
obvious 3.
okay? Well, I can beat 3 when I roll 9 dice,
Mhm.
so that's good.
Okay. So she turns to you and she says, and like she turns her full attention to you, and she says, "You talk all the time about the old ways, about your people. Tell me more about them."
And yeah, like I could tell like motions for her to like sit down with her, and she just says, "Well, you are my people now, and so you should know. Yes, sit down."
And she sits and she says, I think she's like looking at you, trying to unpack that statement, like you're my people, because she literally does not remember her family.
Hmm.
But she's not gonna ask you like, are you like my mom or like what?
Well, and very pointedly, Agata's like, "You are my people now."
Yeah. So
Oh,
she sits and like looks at what you're doing.
and Agata will like reach a hand out to touch her face.
She pulls away for sure. Yeah,
Okay.
like she won't let you touch her.
And so she just like Agata just like feels in space and then like realizes what has happened
Well,
and
I think she
says,
pushes your hand away. Yeah, you
"Yeah,
feel
okay, yeah."
the like hot touch of her fingertips on your wrist as she like pushes your hand back.
Will she let me like hold her hand
No,
then?
no, she won't let you
Okay.
touch
Doesn't want to be
any like
touched at
part of
all.
her that is burned, which is all of her. And she's like wearing
Yeah.
gloves and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, okay. So Agata like folds her hands in her lap then. Um, the most important thing to know about the people now, anyways, is that we are hunted and that those who rule over this place here and now took it from us. They chased us away. They hunt us in the woods, everywhere.
But is that not how it goes? The stronger animals chase out the weaker ones? That there's hunters and prey. And should not the people have been stronger then? Fought back?
And Agata shrugs. Some things cannot be accounted for. One cannot fight winter. At least most can't. And so when the seasons change, sometimes an animal's fate might change as well. That those who couldn't find enough food and grow fat enough do not live through the winter, that homes are flooded or washed away, the land changes, the earth shakes. What can we do?
She just stares silently.
I do not mourn for this state of affairs. I merely seek to survive it. I am aware of it. And despite all of that, I still aim to help these people.
You aim to help who?
Everyone that suffers in this unnatural winter.
If you want to help everyone that suffers, I don't think you're going to succeed. Suffering is a part of life. Sometimes I think it's all there is.
Mm. And it is for that simple truth that I named you. But there is meant to be a turn and a change, and we find ourselves stuck. The wheel is not turning anymore, and that is not right.
So what is to be done?
And she like indicates the mat that she's laid out.
Yeah. We get the camera like tilt up over the two of you, and like you're sitting on either side of this mat. Your familiar is like curled up nearby, shivering a little, because it thinks it's bullshit being out here too.
Yeah, and I can tell like idly reaches out and like pets Oz,
Mm-hmm.
like smooths its fur. I will ask the stars how best we might proceed, and then the spirits, and we will find the source, the cause of this winter, and then I will undo it, unmake it, by whatever means I can muster. It is not a complicated matter, and I hope that my power is enough.
And she looks down at the mat. She looks at you, and says, "I should like to know what the stars have to say."
And so, yeah, she like pulls the little like stones and bones out of her little pouch, and like I think she'll get Killa to like participate in this.
Yeah. She can't actually help you, but
She can't actually help me, but
she can watch.
participating in it. Yeah. And so, yeah, I'm just going to, let's see, what would be the appropriate.
Make an astrology test.
Yeah, this would be determining the auspices of the beginning of an enterprise, I guess. So, Ob 3.
Yeah, I mean, what are you actually asking?
Right?
Like, what is because the test here can give you, it's not actually magic, but there is some implication that like it can act as a vessel for me to give you information as like GM to player.
Yeah, and what I'm asking about is like, because I, Andrew, know that there's an angel of winter that has caused this unnatural winter and blah 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 blah.
Yeah. So I think this is more calling upon the stars to answer a question. Right?
Sure.
Because like, what does Agatha want to know?
Oh yeah, there it is, Ob 4. Yeah. I want to know, yeah, like, is there a way to undo this?
Okay.
You know, like she needs some kind of way of going about this task.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not it's something that she can accomplish is a whole other
let me
question.
look up like mechanically like what the actual mechanical answer to that is. Like,
yeah, because Dave summoned
what is the opposite of summoning? How do we like bind and repel? Because you can
unsummon.
yeah, how do I undo what was done?
So
Demon, I abjure thee. Okay.
Yeah.
You can like banish them with faith, you can make circles of binding, but then you have to summon them into the circle of binding, which Agata isn't
Or make them walk into it like a dumb supernatural.
Yeah, but there might be some other way. You could also like
physically kill it. The angel, if you can get it here, you could probably kill it. They're not like God. But yeah,
and that's the other thing too, is maybe we just have to like murder
stab it,
tear out its heart, eat its heart.
Fighting an angel seems like a bad idea when we haven't even been fighting other people.
It wouldn't. Yeah, it would be magic fighting, not like fighting.
Well, I'm not even super set up to like magic fight it.
No,
so.
exactly, because it's summoning. Let's see. The other price free from obligation. Yada yada yada. Because the next question would be like going to the spirits themselves to ask. This is just asking the stars for like, what is fucking going on? So,
it is definitely possible for me to entreat a sufficiently powerful spirit to just go like punch this thing in the teeth.
So your question is, yeah, like drop a building on it or whatever. So your question is, how do I end the cursed winter?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so I'm going to roll astrology. It's an Ob 4 test to get them to answer a question. So I will fork symbology, apocalypse wise. Is it fair to fork one of sorcery, cercination, or spirit binding here?
I don't think so. No, because those are all different disciplines from this relatively mundane future telling.
Yeah, it would just be that if those were like relevant to the
I
solution.
don't
that
think.
proposed.
Yeah, no, I don't think you can know.
But
You can't fork them without knowing they're likely to be part of the.
yep,
Yeah.
no, that's all good. I just figured I would ask. Okay, so I'm rolling 6 dice against ob 4. This would be where it would be really nice if she actually could help me. Um, I've got a couple fate. I don't want to spend a persona on this. Holy shit, I
Hey.
succeeded at something.
There you
I
go.
don't even recognize
Holy
myself.
crap! Agatha succeeded.
There
What?
you go. That's 2 successes in a row.
I think this is the first time I've succeeded at an astrology roll, like a specifically astrology roll.
Yeah.
It's always that the stars are like, we loom ominously
I mean, they're
overhead.
still looming ominously.
Come on, guys.
So we talked about before that the angels, like the angels and spirits are sort of different in the sense that spirits are just the embodiment of the natural world around you. They're the embodiment of stuff. They don't have a consciousness or an intent. Angels are highly focused, narrow point, needle sharp intent. They're intent given form, right? The angel of winter, his purpose is to freeze and to cause winter and to like throw, and not even in a metaphorical sense, but just like its presence here is causing winter.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So that's just a thing. And I think it showed up because Miro called, but it stuck around because it's just like curious. It's just like hanging out. It's like, what's
Doop,
going
doop,
on?
doop. I'm making it winter.
Yeah, like it's just watching what would happen if winter lasted forever.
Do you know, I've entirely forgotten what I meant to do
I can't remember
to
either.
make this. Yeah, it's like
You wanted to talk to an angel. That
you
was
were just-
literally the motivator.
like
Made a
any
roll
angel.
you knew you would fail.
Yeah, you just summoned literally anything. You were just like, I don't know, Adam. Give me an angel.
I just opened the door and let him in. So the question of how to end the winter.
there doesn't seem to be anything in the summoning section. It would have to be
No,
different.
so this is the thing. Like, yeah, like you have to make the angel go away, right? Like it's being caused by this thing, and you will have to deal with that thing. With using.
But this is also giving Agatha the information that the Angel of Winter exists and is here.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
because that all isn't known to her, which is why I need to be asking this in the first place. Because like I know,
Yeah.
but she doesn't. She has
Yeah.
never actually gotten that information. At best, she got a hint.
Yeah, and the sort of metaphorical, Agatha obviously reinterprets this back to you as a player as like stuff you can act on, but it's probably like, yeah, the rune for the child and the rune for the king fall within the constellation of the northern wind, and like it personifies not as a spirit, but like it would a man. The idea of winter, and it gives you this impression that there is like this is an active force of will maintaining winter here that must be dealt with.
Yay. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
so I know that something is like embodied.
Yeah. So you see that you cast the runes. What is your reaction to them?
Yeah, so there's like some chanting and some figuring of things, and she gets Killa to like cast the stones and bones onto the mat, and she like feels where they've landed.
Yeah.
And like their orientations, and having like done all of that, she kind of sits back on her feet, because I imagine her like kneeling on her knees and feet, and sighs.
Yeah, and Keela says, "What? What did you see?"
Winter itself, or a child of winter, walks here in the land.
What's that
Must be-
supposed to mean?
Think on it a moment. maybe you would understand this better as what, an angel of winter. But there is some creature that has come here. It is not meant to be here. And for as long as it remains, it brings winter with it.
So you hear a voice from the doorway, and it's Sufferance, and she says, "God sends angels to punish the wicked. So if God sent us an angel to drop this city into a terrible winter, then we must deserve it. And if you try to stop it, it's only going to get you killed, or worse, damned."
Question.
Yeah.
Does the it getting here bit, because I kind of already know that Mira was involved.
You do not know that it is not the work of God. Yeah. I mean, except that
but
God
it happened
died.
after God died.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think actually, yeah, no. Agatha's smart. She's got this all put together. And so she kind of just like tisks at Sufferance's like very simplistic view. This happened after God died. Is he sending something from beyond the grave? Did he write this angel a letter to be opened upon his death?
Men have wills that are executed upon their death. Why would things be different in heaven?
And again, like, Agatha just shakes her head. I do not pretend to know. I merely doubt that this is some divine wrath. Because I know that a certain monk who lost his senses at the death of God had something to do with this creature's presence. Spirits have told me of this in the past. I tried to confront him about it, but what is the word of a witch against that of a monk? This was months ago. I think since then, he has faded from the public eye, but I know that it was his doing. That he brought this upon us. For what reason, I cannot say. If there was one.
Sufferance folds her arms over her chest and looks at you from under her hood, and sort of scoffs and says, well, if you want to end the winter and it means having to do something bad to an angel, dead or not, I wouldn't want to be on God's bad side, especially if he sent him here. There's all sorts of stories about God sending vengeful angels down to punish people. Why do you think Stygia is the way it is?
I haven't spared a thought for Stygia, child. Would you prefer that it be winter forever? You seem to be suffering most of all.
Maybe that's what we deserve. You hate Carpathia so much, why try and save it? Why not just let everyone die?
The thought has crossed my mind. There are some people that I do care for. And she just kind of lets that hang, like,
Yeah.
because I give a shit about you, you stupid kid.
Make a roll. Because I think she's here to interrupt you, to be like, stop talking to Agatha. We have chores to do. Come on. She just waited until there was this time to be snarky to step in.
And yeah, is this an ugly truth?
Which part of it? Like, what do you want? You want her to give a shit about this? Like, and not just be like, listen, if God sent an angel, blah, 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 but I have to go and like darn some socks. That's what's important.
Yeah, I just
Because
want to
you got Keela on board, right? Keela's like, yeah, maybe there's some stuff going on we need to be involved in. This is the other role. Like, if you can convince Sufferance to, like, pay attention to this.
Yeah, it's like the ugly truth, right? Is like, what do you want it to be winter forever? Is this good for you? Is this working out for you, you stupid kid?
Yeah.
As she like shivers in the doorway.
She has the religious conviction of a person who thinks that either if God is punishing, it's like when people talk about like when the rapture comes, the 10,000 chosen will be elevated up to heaven, and everyone, all billions and billions of them, are like, oh, that's me. I'm gonna get to go up to heaven's kingdom. Hallelujah.
Yeah. It's that whole.
So she's like, well, all the sinners will die, but I'm gonna be really nice and good, and I will be fine.
Yeah, if I just darn all these socks.
That's right.
I'll get elevated to
I just
heaven.
do my chores, and I'm a good person, and I don't have sinful thoughts. I'll get to go to heaven while everyone else dies.
Ah,
in the
yes,
street.
sinful thoughts.
Yeah. Right now, our only
Yeah,
sinful
I
thought
think
is throwing Agatha off the roof.
I think I am ugly truthing.
Yeah, I think you're ugly truthing
this
her.
girl, and I think apocalypse wise again applies. This is just very much the topic of the day.
Oh yeah, yeah. You're telling your story. So I think in this case, ugly truth. It's an ugly truth about like a religious situation. Let me see.
It's an ugly truth about like, but like winter sucks and you're suffering and having a bad time.
Right,
and
but
like,
remember, she's Sister of Sufferance, right? Like she's
Yeah.
well acquainted with holy martyrdom, and she's okay with it. She's been taught this part of her life, at least.
yeah, that this is
Suffering
like a
is fine.
good
If
thing.
God
Yeah.
wants you to suffer, suffer quietly. Like this is the kind of bullshit that they teach young women to get them to do things they don't want to do, right? Like have a husband who you don't like, right? Endure your shitty life because you will be rewarded in heaven. Enduring is better than standing up and saying no, which you were trying to teach her to do. So it's a hard, ugly truth to teach her. But if, again, this is just that same thing. If you do this, you're ideologically chipping away at both of them one at a time. She will move towards your way of thinking, and they're like, wait, maybe I don't have to feel bad all the time. So, I think this
Yes,
is
I'm asking her if she wants to live deliciously, Adam.
I mean, we'll get there. There's no right now. Agatha's not really good about offering like.
Value.
Yeah, you can't make a devil's bargain with Agatha because she's not offering anything. She's like, join me or be a fucking dumbass. I don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
It's like, oh, you could keep like eating mud, I guess.
Yeah, she's a terrible devil in that regard because there's no tempting. It's just like,
Join me
Yeah.
or be a dumbass.
yeah, you're stupid and I'm not stupid. So, like, obviously, don't be so stupid.
Well, I mean, what she's offering is like you can be independent and like look out for
think-
yourself.
And I think fundamentally, like to take a little bit of a step back and look at the character overall, is that Agatha doesn't promise anything. Agatha is just like,
she's very realistic.
yeah, you're stupid,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to help you be less stupid. But there's always a point where you've gotten with Agatha, where you're like, fine, fuck you then, like get out. I don't care.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like she's just not gonna waste her fucking breath
Yeah.
on people who are like, no, I want to stay ignorant
So
and shitty.
this
and
is
eat
an ugly
mud."
truth about someone's like deeply held religious beliefs that suffering is a fine thing to do.
Yeah. I
so
guess it does run deep.
we'll call it Ob 4.
Yeah, I'm into this. Okay, well, I roll 8 dice against Ob 4. This is my jam.
If you fail again, this is the like. I'm actually gonna start. We'll start another countdown.
This is definitely a clock kind of thing where she just like entrenches harder and harder and harder.
So this is like loyalty of the coven, and I will track that. And currently, this one didn't start, so we'll work this one up. I'll track them both. You can work on them both individually. Cool. Okay. Actually, here let's start it there.
All right, I'm rolling these dice.
Boom. If I can do it.
Truth is beauty, and beauty truth. Adam.
So, yeah, she's too like proud and too like set in her ways, really, to be like, you're so right. Like, let's do it. I'm on board. And my axe, right? Like she's just like, whatever. Like, fine. Like we still have, there's still chores to do. So I think that's what she says. She looks at you and she says, well, not all of us have magical whatever that is following us around and read the stars and have the ear of Father Robillard. Some of us have socks to darn. Keela, come on. And Keela gets up and like looks sort of apologetically at you like, it's true. Socks.
Yeah, and Agatha says, yes, of course. We're done our lessons for today anyways. And while you're darning your socks, think on them. And soon you will know the stars, and you will be able to consult them. And you won't need me to do it for you. And this is mostly directed at Sufferance, who's being all like, not all of us can look at the stars. And I'm like, I'm trying to teach you. God damn it.
Maybe if you learn to look at the stars once in a while.
Yeah. But yeah, like she's like, yes, fine, go on. Like, do whatever you need to do. Adam, I am feeling like what I need to do
Yeah.
is add a clause to my second belief that is like specifically about completing those clocks now that they kind of exist. This idea of like really get them to be on board. And that's how I will make that's really what most interests me about like the tradition surviving the Cursed Winter is like instilling her
Yeah, I think rewriting
like I'm gonna rewrite it.
Yeah, rewriting the belief to be like more concrete, because before it was like generally,
Because this was like a broad one. Yeah, I'm thinking
Like-
now that this is more interesting to me.
I
and
am
this
from
very
I am
specific-
from Guatemala, and so I will talk about Guatemala, and I will talk about its indigenous peoples, and I will talk like I will engage in this thing in a general cultural sense. But
And-
this is you becoming like a professor of Guatemalan studies, right? Of being like,
Yeah.
I have students, I have people. Instead of being the people, it's like I will create people who know these things to pass them on. Yeah.
Yeah, and so like rather than have the big level things stand in for the small stuff, I want to have the small stuff stand in for the big stuff.
Which is much more actionable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't mind my
and just-
borrowing
and just-
a word from Lodovix. This is one of your
Yeah,
actionable
like
goals.
I can earn points
Yep.
more sensibly for it, and also just like it feels more true to what's
Okay,
what it-
so we can
actually
you'll get
doing.
some fate for this session, and then at the end, make a note at the end of the
Yeah, I'm
session.
not just going to rewrite it so it's something I've already done, but
Right.
I'm just letting you know that I'm
Yeah,
changing, so
totally.
it doesn't feel like I'm trying to do.
No,
that.
that's perfect. Yeah. Yeah.
And then yeah, like let's cut on
Okay.
to
Yeah,
because I
okay.
feel
So
like
let's have that conversation. Alessandra, you wanted to talk to. Do you want to cut to Robillard? Is that the next thing that's happening? Yeah.
That's fine with me.
All right. So when next we see, where do you meet with Robillard? It is your right to call for him. This is after court. This is like night or at least end of day after you've finished all your stuff. Now, is this part of a larger meeting? Because Robillard has just sort of unofficially become one of your advisors.
Yeah.
He's never been appointed to the role, but you know.
I think that this is not part of a larger meeting. Like maybe I call him to my office or whatever.
I mean, it's your house, so you have no office, but
Well, I have a
You have a
room that has a
room.
desk in it where like we've described that I have a table, I have books for the estate.
Well, we talked about noble houses have a ton of rooms that are just used for nothing, so you can just pick one. Yeah.
Okay, well, that one that we've used before.
Yeah.
Which I've thought of as my office.
Okay, you don't have an office, but yes, it's a
My
room.
office.
So it's a room with books and a place to read and like candles and yeah. And so Robillard, you hear. Are you there, or do you call for him and then you meet him there?
I'm probably there
enters
already.
this- Okay, all right. So you hear you're there, and what are you doing when you're waiting?
Reading a book about rule of law.
Okay, you're reading a dusty old law book written by like Gavril's great grandfather.
Uh-huh.
Okay, it's incredibly boring.
It's really
it's about
boring.
like lumber rights.
I've been reading a ton of these in the last 3 months, so
Yeah, you're a bit numb to that. Okay, so you hear a gentle like knocking on the door.
come in.
So the door opens. There is a servant there, and he says, "Lady Regent, Father Robillard."
And I do the like nod, yeah.
And he opens the door, and he says to Father Robillard, he says, "Father, the Lady Regent awaits." And Robillard doesn't say anything, but he nods to the boy, and he comes inside. And the door shuts, and yeah, Robillard like takes in the room, waits for you to address him.
Uncle.
He smiles. "It pleases me to hear that you still think of me in this way, Lady Regent." And he grins, like puts his hand to his chest, and like kind of mock bows to you.
Yes, well. You have been closer than ever you have been these last few months.
Did we ever establish who, like which of your parents he's the sibling of?
No, I don't think so.
Should we do that now? Is he
Yeah,
your
we can.
father's brother or your mother's brother?
He's my mother's brother.
Okay. Is your mom still alive?
Yeah, both my parents are still alive.
That's what you think. Ha ha ha. No. Okay, so
They're just back in the inland sea area. I forgot what we named it. Perch.
something French. Okay.
Perch or something about perch.
Okay.
Something roost.
Alessandra's
Parkour.
mom's bro.
Something about birdland in French.
He says so. Sorry. Let's rewind. What do you say to him? He's like, I'm glad you think of me. I'm glad
He
you
said that we've spent more time than we ever have spent together these last few months. You are more an uncle to me now than you ever have been.
Did you know there was a time where your mother and father thought of sending you to me to join me in the church?
To be a nun.
He laughs and he says, there are those amongst the former hierarchy of the church, women who are priests or scholars. You would not have to have been something so low as that.
I do not think it would have suited me, uncle.
I think you've taken to service rather well. And what is a priest if not a servant of the people?
And she lets out a sigh thinking about like the mess that happened earlier today. And she says, yes, well, I do not know if these violent, bloodthirsty people are really that engaged with my less than bloodthirsty type of guidance.
He nods and he says, you are not the regent they expected. These people, they call their vicious neighbors barbarians, but it's, well, shall we say the cone falleth not far from the tree?
They are all Carpathian. And she says it like kind of like derisively a bit. Like, they're all like that. All of the Carpathians are like that. Like,
And
I've had...
Yeah. He says, but they are your Carpathians now. Each and every one of them, your flock. You must take care in how they are handled.
But for how long, uncle? A flock that is starving does not stay loyal for long. Starving and freezing. Let us not forget the king is still, well, and she like hand waves to like encompass the like
all that
amnesia.
The kingdom is in mourning, Alessandra. They lash out, and when the Carpathians lash out, they do so fervently. They are a good people, if tempered by a long and painful history.
A long and painful history and a long and painful winter. I have seen with my own eyes the miracles that you and the angels have been able to accomplish. I'm sure that you've been looking into this horrific state of affairs. It cannot continue, uncle. You know as well as I that not being able to grow food creates a certain
he kind of puts his hand up to interrupt you, to just be like, shh. And he says, you have advisors to worry about these things. The minister has seen to it that the city will not starve. You have your treasurer to make sure that we can avail ourselves of the resources that are given to us. This winter is unusually long and harsh, but you should be focused on what's at hand, what lies before you.
I am focused on what's at hand, uncle, and what's at hand. These people, they are swayed by your miracles. This regency,
He looks hurt when you say that, like you've offended him somehow. But he doesn't interrupt.
Okay. My regency, all of this, it is temporary, but if my rule could coincide with a spring for Carpathia, then
he says to you, had your mother given you over to me to raise in the church among the pious, you would understand this, and I know that your growth was in another direction, and so I hold your blasphemies. They're not your fault. The purpose of a miracle, niece, is not to sway people. The purposes of a miracle are not to elicit support. The purpose of a miracle is to illustrate the will of the angels on earth, to show to the faithful that the children of God have a hand in each and every action. Their bringing you back was not so that you could be placed upon the throne as regent. That was your doing. The miracle was to show that it was the will of the angels that you did not join them, that you stay here, that your destiny was yet unfulfilled. Do not think about the angels as simple tools for you to get what you want. Kind-hearted though those desires might be.
is it also the will of the angels that we are all to freeze and starve to death?
If that is what happens, then yes, of course. All that happens does so according to a plan that we may not have access to. I know that this is hard to understand, that you can feel powerless, but he puts his hands out like, that's how it goes.
Can you not even look into it, Uncle? I know that.
What would you have me do?
Ask them.
You think
Can't
it's so
you-
simple.
I don't know.
And he takes a step forward and he puts his hand on your shoulder and like stares intensely at you. And he says, why do you not ask them yourself, child? Do you? Do you pray at night to the choir to give you answers?
Me? They would not listen.
The angels listen to every prayer, especially those that come from folks such as so desperate as you, who have so much on their shoulders.
And she's just like, I think there's like you're suggesting that I talk to these like great, like,
Well, and he's just as put out because you're like, could you just like pray for me while I do other things I'm more interested in? And he's just like, you better get your fucking piousness together.
and yeah, she's like, she's never been pious. So she's just like, wait, praying? Question mark.
Yeah.
I suppose it is partially the fault of my upbringing that I have not. Well, this is awkward.
He shakes his head, and he says, "These are strange times, niece. Strange and trying. You have so much on your mind. It can be easy to forget. Prayer is more than simply asking the angels for what we want. It is reminding them that we pay fealty to them, just as your followers pay fealty to you as the Lady Regent. So too do you owe all your power on this earth to the angels. Show them that you remember this. Pray, and not only for yourself, but for all your flock."
Oh. And I think she remembers like when she tried to do like way back when she first entered for the Church of Angels or whatever, and she attempted to like be religious and like go up to the front of the like aisle and do some kind of like praying or whatever, and she fucked up the roll. Like she remembers like fucking up the like obsequience or whatever at that point, and she's just like, I don't. Before, Uncle, you told me that I need do nothing but be present, be the face of the choir at court, but I'm afraid that I do not know the proper methods of prayer to the angels. You've been busy, I suppose, and I don't know anyone else at the choir that I would trust to reveal that rather obvious
And
lack.
he nods, and he says, my role is ever thus, to teach, to instruct. I think if you cannot appeal to the violent nature of these Carpathians, we could instead appeal to their piousness. A show of faith, a way to illustrate to your people that you believe that there is a higher power guiding your actions. There are a number of ceremonies I could perform on your behalf to induct you into the choir's ranks, to make official what has until now been only whispered of. What say you to this, niece? Shall we teach these people that they have a reason to believe in you, and that you believe in something more than yourself?
And you think that this would help with the maintenance of my regency?
He smiles, and he says, even the long journey that Barnabas took through the desert began with a first step, Alessandra.
And you hold to your promise that this will be but the first step for me as well.
What better way to find the hearts of your people? And he looks up kind of metaphorically, than to show that you are willing to hear the song of the angels. I have nothing but faith in you, my child. Show some faith yourself.
I will do this, Uncle, not for you, but for Carpathia, if, as you said you would do, you ensure that our religion will move toward my status as regent being more permanent and legitimate.
I like how subtly you're trying to because you don't know if you could just be like, listen, man.
Yeah.
Because the dangerous thing about Robillard is that he's not being cynical, right? That if he were cynically pretending to be religious, you could just be like, listen, man, let's just cut all this bullshit and be like, all right, I'll do the ritual. You'll get corporeal power because it'll be the state religion, whatever. But you have to tread on eggshells with him because he's legitimately believes all this stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, let's have you make a roll.
But isn't this part of our previous Duel of Wits agreement?
So the previous agreement is that you publicly will join the choir and support it, and in exchange he will endeavor to install you on the throne as a queen. Yes. This is about specifically there will be a baptism, essentially.
There's a ceremony.
There will be a ceremony that straight up officially he will have the documents drawn up that you will be like, this is the will of God. As regent of Carpathia, I am close to God. by way of my trusted advisor, Robillard. Like, and there will be a thing where you will be dunked in the holy water, and everyone will rejoice, and this will be officially
Sure,
religion.
I get what the like baptism into the state religion thing is,
Yeah.
and that how that cements Robillard's power. But what Alessandra is saying is like part of our deal was that I get to be fucking queen.
Okay.
And in the old religion, the king couldn't just like toss his old wife away, but like still a problem.
So yeah, so let's have you roll.
Okay.
Roll to persuade. I know he's very difficult to persuade. I'll give you an extra die because you did. There is like a little bit of the groundwork. He won't go back on what he said. Like he's still going to support you as in the throne, but this is like an immediate action. So
Okay.
take an extra die. If you succeed, then that's what it will be. Like he will definitely say right now, like we can have that conversation. Like yes.
Okay.
But if you fail, all you're going to get is like, of course, dear.
Soothing platitudes.
Yeah, he'll be like, there.
Okay. So obviously noble wise. Doctrine? I'm asking him to
Yes,
like,
yeah, totally.
yeah.
Yeah.
Can I fork in etiquette because like I was dancing around this subject so deftly?
I mean, I don't know how deft it was, but yes,
Hey.
you're trying to maintain some decorum. Yeah.
All right, yeah. Manipulation wise.
Mm-hmm.
Would rule of law fork here? Because it's
No, later you'll make a test
Okay.
around, like, because he's going to be like, here, I need you to sign this, and you interpreting it will require rule of law.
okay, right. And what's the odd here?
His will, which is 6.
Okay, so I had noble wise, doctrine, manipulation wise, and etiquette, and then I have the one die you gave me.
Mhm.
And it's a knob 6. Well,
Oh, and there are no 6s in that big
I don't
pile.
have fate anyway.
Oh,
so
that's
it
true.
doesn't matter.
Okay. All right. So, but you'll get fate for this other belief. So you're working these things away. So he smiles beatifically and he nods, and he says, "I believe that we are in accord in this matter, my child. I will send to the choir for the materials that I need, and I will have someone draft a declaration for you."
Of course, uncle.
And he smiles and says, "Do not be afraid to stumble. The choir will be there to make sure you keep the path."
And she's like looking at him, and there's a look in her eyes that is like, yeah, uh-huh. Like, I don't for a second think that you wouldn't toss me aside if you thought that you could still get what you wanted. Like, there's that look of like recognized Corvidae.
He just lets it bounce off him. He just continues the like thought, because he's really, really good at being the like smart old guy who has all the answers.
He's got 8 life vests.
And he says to you, "I'm afraid I must ask for your leave, Lady Regent. I've other troubled souls to attend to tonight."
Of course.
And he nods and he says, "Angels be with you, Lady Alessandra. And if you find yourself mired in these uncertain thoughts, you may find better guidance in prayer than you do in law." And he like looks at the book like, "Stop reading all these law books. Like, you should be praying."
Educating yourself, garbage.
Well, because he's like, you're reading about the law and stuff, but you're not a lawyer. You should be praying because the angels made sure you didn't die. So
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, she was just like, that was not even in her head to pray to anyone. That's not what she does. Other people pray.
There is exactly one book you need to be reading, according to
that's
Robillard.
right, exactly. Well, the funny thing is that there's definitely back at the choir, there's definitely like a group of religious scholars, right? Like the kinds of people who translated the Bible or whatever, who are putting together a holy canon, right? Like so that eventually there can be, even though we know that the printing press will not be invented for like a good long time, not until after the death of the child empress, that they're putting together a canon of like official doctrine to take this from being a weird cult into a religion. So someday he'll be able to be like, here is a book. This is the book of songs, right? Read this shit. But in the meantime, yeah, he bids you farewell and suggests that you should probably like consider praying to the angels for guidance. Cool. And he leaves. So let's grab a break here, and when we get back in, we'll check in with the next batch. I think we need to see where Lodovic goes, because actually, Dave, I have another person that I need to introduce. I have an NPC that needs to come on the scene to help you with your endeavors. So I think we'll do that when we get back. Stick around, everybody. We'll be right back.